Remember the protest chaos that gripped Hong Kong in 2019? There was a kid back then, just 14 years old, shot in the leg by a policeman who came under attack during a riot. Imagine this boy in court now, so desperate to avoid a stiff sentence after pleading guilty to a rioting charge that he has to say, "I'm so sorry, I deserve to get shot. If I were the officer, I would have shot me too." Not verbatim, but that was essentially what the defense lawyer told the judge last week on behalf of a juvenile client convicted of a crime that carries a penalty of up to 10 years behind bars. Not only was the boy so remorseful that he absolved the policeman of blame, his lawyer said, but he actually felt he deserved it and would have done the same had he been in the officer's position, surrounded by a violent mob. For those of you who may not remember, the plainclothes officer shot the boy in the leg as he was knocked to the ground, beaten bloody and set on fire with a petrol bomb by purportedly peaceful protesters on a noble quest for democracy. Well, as the old maxim goes, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. But you know what? This kid deserves more respect than the adults who either directly or indirectly incited, encouraged or influenced so many like him and have now conveniently fled the city to avoid prosecution. I'm talking about scurrilous invertebrates like former opposition lawmaker Ted Hui. He was out on bail pending trial on a raft of criminal charges when he first sneaked out of Hong Kong pretending to be invited for climate change talks in Denmark. Then he scuttled sideways over to London and eventually crawled all the way across to Australia, where he will continue the fight for Hong Kong's freedom. You can imagine what Captain Courageous and his treachery did to the chances of other activists being released on bail in good faith by the courts. And now he gets to be a semi-useful idiot based overseas for Western governments, to be trotted out on a leash to bark at Beijing in return for a pat on the head. Speaking of which, Nathan Law, one of the poster boys of the revolution and the first to run away from the national security law, has just been granted asylum in Britain. What happened to all that big talk about not being afraid of going to jail for your ideals and principles? What happened to those handy Gandhi quotes, primed to impress in every Western media interview? You know, you can chain me, but you will never imprison my mind. Just look at the demographics of those who are paying the price for what happened in 2019. In addition to the young and gullible who were used as cannon fodder for the revolution, it's the common man, the working class, bearing the brunt of punishment, not the so-called elite of the pro-democracy movement. How are these scoundrels able to sleep at night without their own burning shame reducing them to a pile of ashes in spontaneous subhuman combustion? How are they able to look at themselves in the mirror every morning without melting into a sniveling puddle of guilt-ridden goo? But hey, at least Nathan Law is safe and sound. Tell that to the kids who are not.